Hey guys, how's it going? So, we're back, and today we're going to talk about a couple more spreads, specifically the bear call and the bull put. Again, super common strategies, and a lot of people will use these actually together. I'll make another video called an iron condor, which is just the summation of these two. But let's start over on the bear call spread over here on the left. Really, the thought process is I just want to make some money because I don't think the market is going to go that high. Okay, it's pretty simple, right? So I even wrote, I think SPY will stay below 440 by 7-1. Let's make some cash. Okay, what do I mean by that? So the market today is at 436. You can see that I have that for both. These are real options on the market right now. It is 621 and market's almost closed. So these can fluctuate any moment, but you get the gist. These are real numbers, really coming from the legitimate option chains. So if we start over here on the left with an example, you can see that I'm going to sell a 440 call, right? So I'm selling this guy and then I'm buying this guy right here. And that kind of makes this unique little graph right here. I don't know, they call it a half a trapezoid or something, right? And so the premium is the difference between the two, right? So I sold this guy for 455. That's this guy right here. I bought this guy for 360, right? So I get this guy is essentially like negative, aka coming to my account. This guy's positive. So this 95 cents is really like money that's coming to my account. Sometimes people will call it negative. It doesn't really make sense. It's really just that you're selling a call. So after we do the 95 cents of premium, again, you can always leverage this up. So that's with one contract. Remember, one contract is 95, but it's always per 100 shares. So it's $95 one contract, right? So for this example, I'm going to use 10 contracts because it's more interesting and the numbers look better, right? So for 10 contracts, right, same thing. I'm still multiplying by 100, but then 10 contracts, so 950 bucks. That's where this max profit comes from. And then I have a break even, right? So it's essentially the short call number itself, the 442. Sorry, the break even is the short call plus the premium first. So short call plus the premium, right? So 440 plus the 95 cents I got is 440.95. That's where this guy's coming from. And then the max loss itself is going to be 442. So this guy that I bought right here minus this guy that I sold right here. And again, and then subtracting off the premium that I got, right? Because I get to keep this 950 all the time, right? No matter what, right? I mean, I might lose more money than I make, but this 950 stays with me the whole time. So essentially, my max loss would from just these two guys be $2,000, but I get to keep the 95 cents, right? So that I end up with 1,050 bucks right here. So you can see if the market goes this way, right? If it goes really high, right? So like 446, I'm going to lose the 1050. Um, Not awesome, not great. But if the market just stays below 440, anywhere below 440, right? So we're talking 439 and 99 cents itself, I will still end up with a max profit, right? So I kind of have all this leg room. I would call it cushion, right? I have all this cushion and I get to keep my full amount of money. For those of you familiar with statistics, I like to think of it as like a confidence interval, right? Like this is kind of my bounds in some degree, not statistically accurate confidence interval, but I like to think of it as like here I have this cushion between these two values of where I think the true population mean is. Now let's contrast that. Let's come over to the bull put spread, right? Which you'll notice the graphs are identical. They're just rotated, right? They're just flipped. So same exact pricing still today, the whole 9 yards from the first guy, but again, contracts from real life. I'm going to sell the 721, buy the 721, right? But this time I only went 100 bucks apart. When I say 100, 1 point apart. Notice I went two over here on the left, right? I went 440 and 442. Here I went one. I just did that to show you guys it doesn't matter. You can make these really wide, right? Like if you're like, I don't want to lose that much money, um, you can keep them really tight. right here within 1 point of each other on these contracts. But if you're like, I'm willing to lose more money but make more money, right? I can make them 2 points apart. I can make them 20 points apart, right? It doesn't matter. These are most common. I'd say people do a point, 2 points, three, four, even five contracts apart from each other. So same thing on the premium. I get 390 here, but I had to pay 361 for this guy. So I get 29 cents. And again, I'm multiplying that 100 shares times 10 contracts, right? So I get 290 bucks there. That's where this max profit comes from. And then the break even, which is always important, right? Like when have I uh, broken even on my money? I just subtract that guy from the short call that I sold. So 431.71, which is this guy right here. And then the max loss again is the difference between these guys. So that's 1 point minus 21 cents, minus, sorry, 29 cents. I get 71, multiply it by 1,000, I get 710, right? So I get 710 right here. And again, so this is my cushion, right? So just like I had cushion on the other side, this right here is my cushion, right? I'm gonna write the word cushion, right? I could go all the way down to 432.01, right? And still keep my full 290 bucks, right? So you get that cushion, which is nice, but you'll notice two things between the strategies, and there's a lot of reasons, but you can see what the market is favoring and what you're willing to essentially give up. If you notice over here on the bear call, these are pretty even, right? Like 950 and 1050 are pretty even numbers, right? This is a strategy I would probably take on. I might actually go buy it right after this if the market's still open. This guy over here, is kind of like a, not 3x, right? But it's a solid 2x and some change difference between the two numbers. There's a lot of reasons why that's the case. Option premiums on the downside, on the put side, are always more expensive, right? So why? What do I mean by that? Um, if you think about, right, generally the market does this, right? I'm going to draw it, right? It goes up, and every once in a while there's these sharp downturns, right? So these put options, especially on the downside, are worth a lot more, right? And AKA they're a lot more expensive because people care about insurance and they care when the market tanks really fast. Rarely do people care, or does it even happen where the market does this and then it skyrockets over the course of a day or two, right? We are all aware of like 10% drops, over the course of like a week or something, right? COVID or the 2008 financial crisis, or anytime the Fed tightens up or whatever the case is on interest rates. Rarely, I mean, if the Fed can make an announcement and the market can have a good day, right? But rarely does it go up, more than like 2% in a week, right? Like even during like inflation 2020, right, where the market went up 21%, I mean, you got a couple like threes and fours and fives, maybe percent. But the market is always baking in on the put side, right, of this huge downfall, right? Everybody's scared to lose money. Nobody's scared or nobody's that worried about making too much money unless you're short, but that's for another discussion. So the market bakes this in. So you essentially have a worse ratio of profit to loss on the put side than you will on the call side. But if you really think, hey, the market's going to stay up, right? Which on these prices at 431, at least the market is talking to me saying, hey, most people think so, right? Like, because you're going to have to pay a pretty steep downside if you're wrong, but you don't make that much on the upside. On the call side, it's saying, hey, I don't really think that the market is going to go whipping up, right? Which makes sense. Again, we don't think that the market is going to go from 440 to like 550, right? Like if that did that, it would be insane. A good day for those of us not short, right? It's much more likely that the market goes 440 to like 415, right? Like ChatGPT takes over the Federal Reserve and they start boosting interest rates like astronomical. Okay, now I'm just talking, but you guys get the gist. I hope this is educational. On the next one, we'll show you what happens when you add these guys together. It's called the Iron Condor. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.